child the keys to a candy store. And so that's basically what we had, and we were not even using a tenth of it. And so really by fate, Lacey Johnson came to Paducah, came to get to know us at Entre Paducah, and we began working with her, and her basically showing us how we can use our customer relationship system to the max. And we're about to get, well, I say we're about to get there. We have a long way to go, but we're off to a fantastic start. We wouldn't be near where we are now. So I just say that as a personal testimony that CRM systems are something that every business should have, and obviously you think so too, or you have an interest, or you wouldn't be here today. So we thank you for coming, and with that, I'd like to introduce Lacey Johnson of Gold Coast Advisors. Lacey, I'll just give it to you to take it away.
Terry, thank you very much, and I'm going to try to be very succinct and to the point. A lot of you guys are probably in the planning process of figuring out where is my business going and what do relationships mean to that. And so I'm going to challenge you with a very common philosophy you hear very often said in the business world. I'm sure you've heard someone say, it's not personal, it's just business, right? Well, guess what? Personal and business are equal. And I want to tell you that if you're in any service-oriented business, you need to strike a healthy balance between personal and professional, because professional will win you clients and personal will keep you clients. And that's where having a relationship management strategy is going to come into play here. So, when dreaming up a strategy, there's 3 questions that you should ask yourself. And the first question is, what's the goal or the purpose for the relationships that I'm building? Whether they're with a prospect or a client or a vendor or an alliance or a resource, whatever your status of contact is, what's the purpose or the goal for them? Every contact should have a purpose and a goal. The second one is, how am I going to nurture that relationship? What process am I going to implement to create value for this person and then for myself? And the third question is, how am I going to distinguish the effectiveness of my efforts? Okay? So you can do the first 2 and everything be great and you'll be rolling along fantastically. But the problem is if you have no way to report or no way to analyze this data and these relationships, then how do you know that implementing anything will work for you? Well, that's where our next point comes into play.
Could you go back to the music?
Sure. You let me know when you're ready. Let me tell you the top 5 reasons people do business with organizations or companies. Number 1, and this is by a landslide, guys, is customer service. Number 2 is quality. Number 3 is price. Number 4 is convenience. And number 5 is it meets a need. Well, think about that. That means you could essentially have a subpar product. You could essentially have something that's not a commodity, or that is a commodity that's not essential. But if you have fantastic customer service, you might be very successful with your business because that's so important. It's number 1. So why should you care about that, right? Well, I'm telling you, you should care about us, care about that, because there's ways that you can capitalize on these relationships, on these statistics out there. And one way is to work with an expert, okay? At Gold Coast Advisors, we are experts at effectively helping you manage the value of organizational relationships. And we have offices in Chicago, Springfield, and Paducah. And we specialize in exactly what Terry says. We take your technology and we apply it to your process. So I'm going to give you a little feedback on this. When I come into a firm or a business or an organization, a lot of times the first thing you need to do is figure out, okay, what is my process? And many large businesses have a good grasp on what this is. But more times than not, I find out that people don't know what their process is. They're doing a lot of different things over and over again. There's no rhyme or reason to when or why or where or who they do them with. And they feel at the end of the day that they're just kind of spinning their wheels. Well, a lot of times what I do, what I call myself, is I'm a business therapist, because I can come in, I can ask the appropriate questions to get you thinking about, well, why do I do that? Well, when did I start doing that? Well, what has it gotten me? What are the results of doing this? And we can restream your organization so that you're following a process that can then be applied to your technology. And in terms of technology with customer relationship, one of the most popular technologies to use is called a CRM. And we're going to go into what that means now. What is a CRM? Well, CRM was a phrase or an acronym coined by my industry for customer relationship management. But it's since then evolved, and now Microsoft Dynamics, or Microsoft CRM, you may have heard of them, have kind of changed that acronym to XRM, because to be honest with you, customers are just part of your contacts. In fact, the sales cycle begins way before customers. It begins with prospects. In fact, sometimes the sales cycle begins with your alliances before they're even a prospect. Okay? So XRM means anything relationship management. And that is the key. We define a CRM as a system to track a relationship by inputting details about the contact and understanding or inputting the important interactions in the communications you have with them. This includes all communications: email, meetings, letters, to-dos, any sort of initiated action with a contact that you feel is relevant to the relationship. Okay? So let's talk about some statistics. Did you know that spending on customer relationship management software is expected to see the largest increase of all software applications markets worldwide this year? And that's a statistic from Gartner, Inc. 75% of U.S. businesses will implement at least one software as a service business application by last year. Okay, so that's an old statistic. So, you know, who knows what the fruit of that will be in 3 years when they go to analyze this. Middle market and large enterprise companies will use an average of 7 software as a service business applications. 30% of new business application software deployments will be software as a service. Okay, what is software as a service? Does anybody know? You probably heard of them. They're kind of cloud-based computing. It's hosting your software on the internet so that you don't have to install anything on your actual machine. Very, very popular right now. Okay, and CRM makers of cloud-based computing are some of the largest in the industry. And did you also know that increasing customer retention by 5% can increase profits 25 to 95%? Just 5%. So here's the top 15 software as a service business applications. Look at number 1, customer relationship management. Okay. Number 2, human resource management. Number 3, billing and accounts payable, collaboration, e-commerce, on and on and on, email and instant messaging, blogs, social media. Look how far that is down the list. I thought that would be higher personally. CRM is number 1. Okay? Now, why is CRM number 1? Well, I'm going to give you 3 reasons. Organizations can deliver a better customer experience, leading to dollars. Okay? Remember that first, back a couple slides, it says the number 1 reason businesses do or people do business with companies is because of customer service, right? Organizations can deliver a better experience, better insight into customers. Now, this is huge because when you have a data portal that you can share among each other, conversations had with one person can give another person insight into the type of client, insight into the type of prospect, insight into the kind of relationship, and it can better help you qualify whether that's a viable lead or customer or relationship. 3, centralized control over communication. Now this is very huge. How many of you guys use Outlook? Right, okay. So did you know that unless you're working for a big organization that can look into your Outlook accounts or your email accounts, did you know that when you send an email to somebody, there's no way for your other colleagues to know what you said to that person unless they log into your Outlook? How many of you know that? Right, because they don't share your email address. They don't share your application, right? That makes sense? Okay. This is the beauty of CRM. Accountability. Okay, if you're having conversations with people or other people are having conversations with relationships that are important to you, somebody can see it. And you can better control your brand and your image. Does that make sense? So this is the huge push for CRM. Let me tell you some key features of CRM. The number one feature of a CRM is it's a centralized data portal, which means all your data is in one place. No more double entry. No more having to figure out which database or which data portal has what information. No more segments. No more having files on your computer that somebody else can't access that has information they're trying to gain. It's a central repository for your data. Integrated software and services. We're talking about Microsoft Office, Microsoft Outlook. Outlook integrates with a lot of CRM, which means when you send an email, it's recorded in your database for you. Automatically, no manual attaching. That's huge. What about e-marketing? A lot of, anybody heard of canned spam laws? Anybody know about federal regulations with spam? Basically, the bottom line is this. If you send an advertisement through your Outlook account using your ISP, that's your internet service provider, whether it be Google, Comcast, whatever else. If you do not use an ESP, an email service provider, and give them the option to opt out, you can be fined thousands of dollars. It's serious business. That integration lives in most CRMs on the market today. But the other beauty, or the other beautiful thing about using an email service provider is that you can get diagnostics on the relationship with that email. Who opened that email? If they forwarded it to a friend. If they didn't open it at all. If they opened it 19 times. If they clicked on any links. That can be very powerful to you in terms of targeting your message to different people. Integrated right into the CRM. And the other thing that you can take a look at the end of this presentation is our smartphones. We are in a mobile society. We need our data in lots of different places. It needs to be easily accessed. I have a virtual machine of a CRM on my iPad. Feel free after the presentation to play with it. Figure out, you know, kind of what you think of it and how easy it is to maneuver. But we can also put it on your smartphones, your Droids, your Blackberries, your iPads. I mean, the sky's the limit with portability. And the last, one of the last features I'm going to talk about is workflow automation. And to me, guys, this is the most serious thing about CRM, because once you can establish your workflow, you're going to be quicker, you're going to be more efficient, you're going to get stuff done better, faster, and you're going to be able to track accountability on it. CRMs give you the ability to report on this stuff. What activities have been finished? When were they finished? Who finished them? Workflow automation. Huge. Marketing, sales, and service management. CRMs have traditionally been a sales and marketing tool because they have a lot of neat features in terms of pipeline and prospecting and developing your hot leads and your cold leads, but those are built right into it, as well as what you do with that client, that customer or that prospect once they are a client. How many of you guys knew that your majority of your clients or majority of your new business is going to come from your old business. How many of you knew that? So the point here is, while we spend a lot of time prospecting, which we should, we can cultivate new prospects in our current client base if we're keeping up with their needs, their wants, their desires, and their affiliations. It's huge. And reporting and word processing. Now, back in the days when I was working at Wachovia Securities, I remember I used to have to do mailings, and it would take me half a day to do mailings because I had to do a mail merge and then export the mail merge into a Excel doc or a Word document, put in my merge fields, print. If they weren't printed right, I had to redo that again. This is one-click mail merge documentation, which means your database is already set up. You design these templates, you push a button and you go. That's an hour of my time versus 4 hours of my time. What could I have been doing with the other 3 hours? Probably not anything very good. But to recap, the key benefits of CRM are this: a 360-degree view of your customer. And to me, this is the most important, because my customers, I am passionate about relationships. Relationships make the world go round. They're the single most important thing you have on this earth, okay? So understanding in my organization what people are saying to the people I care about, what people are doing with the people I care about, what people are sending to the people I care about, that's so important to me. This gives me that. It gives me that peace of mind. At any moment, I could pull up a contact and see what 3 other people have done with that person, what 3 other people are planning to do with that person, because you have the calendar effect in CRM as well. So it's the 360-degree view of your customer. It's the successful execution of business performance philosophies. I told you my passion is relationships. Your business philosophy may be something else. How does that correlate with the way you view and the way you use your contacts? Customer acquisition, retention, loyalty, profitability, sales processes. All of this is incorporated. These are your key benefits: real-time pipelining and forecasting, keeping in touch with your customers in a way that is meaningful to them. Powerful business rules that automate tasks. There's powerful tools in these CRMs that will take the things that you do every day, the redundant tasks that you do over and over, and it will automate them for you. That's one less thing that you have to focus on, one less thing that you have to concentrate your efforts on, because you know you kind of have a virtual assistant working on your behalf in the background. And for marketing executives, it enables peace of mind, because if you've ever been a business owner, which I'm sure many of you probably are, the scariest thing that you can do for your business is hire a salesperson and not figure out what they're doing with their time. That's a scary place to be. That is all output, no income. This is accountability. At any point you can pull up a report that says everything that they've done or everything they have not done. It's on paper. How can you dispute it? Don't take their word for it. Customer service and customer satisfaction. I'll tell you, that's the #1 thing. I guarantee you, the more you care about your customer, the more you know about your customer, the more you document about your customer, the more your customer is going to sing your praises to their best friend. And that's what it's all about. The best value you can bring anybody is the value that when they go next door, they say, I felt so good when I dealt with that person. That person made me feel like $1,000,000. I would refer them to 10 friends. You can't pay for that advertising. This will help you do it. So here's a cute little joke. Why CRM projects fail. Okay. Here are the statistics, guys. 70% of all the CRM projects implemented in the last 5 years I'm roughing this. It's somewhere between 20 and 90. So I'm going to say 70. 70% fail. Okay? That's a CRM implementation. Now, why is that? Well, let's look at this little joke. Hi, I'm from the IT department. I want to ask you how much our new CRM system eases your workload. Well, I'm glad you asked. In the days before our new system, I had to maintain all my contacts, mailing, sales, etc. in a bunch of Excel spreadsheets. Who feels that? But since we have to use this new system, I have to type every week all my records from my sheets into my new system just to pretend I use it. User adoption is key. And guess what? If you don't have a strategy, no one will use your system. That's just the truth. I've been down this road so many times. If 70% of all projects fail, then the answer is simple. You need to use an expert, okay? Don't try to be your own expert. That's not your job. That's my job. So, this is a Q&A session. If you have any questions, I would love to entertain them right now. And here's some of the typical questions that I get the most when doing these type of forums. Anybody?
How do you measure that return on investment?
Well, that is typically it's over a 3-year period, and average stats, I don't have the formulas if that's what you're asking, but average stats say that your return is typically 25% over 3 years.
But I think you asked, how do you measure that?
I don't have those
It'd be
statistics.
different for every company, I guess.
It absolutely would. There are formulas for that. You take, the amount that you invest, and you set your time period, and you divide it by some crazy number. And I'm not a math girl. I can get that information for you if you're interested, but math isn't my interest, so that's relationships. But that's a good question.
What's the average price?
That's a great question. For a single user, a project can be anywhere from $1,200, okay, including software. In large companies, it can go up to hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it just depends on the scope of the project and what software you're going with. The beautiful thing is there's software for every industry, every market segment out there that can meet your needs, and that's very, very powerful. And an expert like me would come in and diagnose what you need and then make you a recommendation based on your needs and your budget.
So then you locate the software that's needed, and then what is your part in that after that's installed?
The relationship.
Kind of like educating or...
Well, absolutely. I mean, I have clients, I've been doing this for a few years. I have recurring business with my clients. My client base is my #1 supporter and my #1 new business source because I'm very hands-on with them. But typically the way we quote, and every place is different, the way we quote is by the project. So once the project is complete, any additional support you would pay for hourly. So it would be just like any sort of implementation. Yeah. And we do consider us application specialists. So I can't fix all your IT needs. I'm not going to set up your network. I'm not going to come in and tell you, why your Exchange server is failing. But I do have alliances that I work with who can do that for you. I'm only going to give you expert advice on this topic. I'm a specialist. So that's kind of the way you look at that. Anything else?
I guess where's the small management sort of thing? Where's their QuickBooks? Does that work with?
Yes, and I'm glad you brought that up because most CRMs are front office and QuickBooks is sort of a back office application. There is a link between certain applications in QuickBooks where you can start the contact in your CRM and it will create the contact in your QuickBooks once they become a paying client. So there is a relationship there. And that's huge, guys, because, we're trying to not duplicate efforts here. We're not trying to recreate the wheel. We're trying to give you an efficient process. Well, how are we on time? Early? Late?
20 to 1.
Okay, so we have lots of time left. So I would,
So
go ahead.
typically, if somebody contacts you for help,
Mhm.
what are the steps you do? What do you?
That's a
just
great
lead us
question.
through that?
Yep. A project usually starts with a needs analysis where I would come in and I'd ask you a bunch of probing questions to try to get at what your goals are and your purpose for a project, okay? And then once I ask these questions and get my data gathered, I'll give you a recommendation of what I think you need and how much it will cost, okay? And then typically, once you sign off on that, I work by the project, which means I'm a workhorse until the project's done and completed and to your satisfaction, okay? Meeting the objectives outlined on the proposal. So it's very cut and dry. And the other thing I wanted to talk about with Gold Coast is I'm not a one-man show. There's 5 of us in all across the country. And most of our clients are nationwide. We do have some international clients. But we take a very team approach. So if I come into your business and I'm designing a strategy or a solution for you, you're not just getting my design, you're getting input from the president and all the other advisors who have gone over this. So we try to make sure that we, to give the most biased and the most effective point of view in terms of creating something that will work for you. So it's a great philosophy, it's a great team effort, and it works really well. The other thing is I'm not the only one you can contact. You can contact any of those people at any time, and they will help you. So.
So you give recommendations and then they're implemented, and then do you come, monthly to see if it's going the way it should, or is there follow-up?
If that's the package you choose, yes. We price by packages A, B, and C. But I'm very hands-on typically. I'll maintain the relationship to a fault. You can ask my friends. Because, what's important to me is not that you say, where'd that Lacey girl go? She was going to hold my hand through this. What's important to me is that you say, that was a great experience. And let me tell my friend about it. Because, again, it's just so important that you make your business personal. I can't express that enough. So at this point, I do have an iPad back there. It's got a CRM on it if you want to fiddle with it, kind of see what it looks like. I know that you guys have a industry-specific CRM that you just implemented. So if you have any questions regarding that, I'd be happy to help you. But go ahead.
How do you handle the adoption rate thing? How do you, when you're working with a company that's switching to a new CRM, how do you help get everybody within that organization on board to use the CRM software?
2 ways. I am an expert student. So when I come into your business, I'm going to study you to the point you're going to say, I'm sick of you studying me, because I want to know how you work. I make your process fit into the technology so that you're not having to relearn everything, okay? But the other step to that, so that's the beginning. I'm going to custom design it to fit your needs. The end of this is training. I'm going to train the tar out of you. By the end of this, I want you to be able to do it in your sleep, okay? Because nothing is good unless it's intuitive, unless you've got it figured out, unless you understand why you're doing it, unless you really take hold of it. So and Gold Coast has a 9 Net Promoter Score. So if you guys know anything about Net Promoter Scores, it's real good. The reason we have that is because we are so hands-on. We never have failures. There's no failures in our projects. We have a 100% success rate, and we're proud of that.
When you said train you, were you saying you singular, like you the person that I'm working with, or you, a bunch of people in your company?
Well, it just depends. Like if you're a one user, I'll train you. If you're
But I think
25.
you were asking about how do you get the user adoption, and if you've got 20 people I don't know, in your business. When you said, I'm gonna train you, did you mean you, the person that's contracted
For
with
25
us?
people, I don't do one-on-one training. No, it would be group training. Okay?
But you would conduct some training for those people, is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Okay.
In order for you to adopt it, you have to have training. You won't adopt it without training. It's just,
But
it's the
that's
facts.
something that your packages do.
That's right. That is exactly right. Yes.
I'm speaking for Carolyn. Is your question